So I don't quite know how to start this Rave Story podcast because the man in the chair, he's so slick. He's so perfect. He's so wonderful in every way. He's literally the ultimate man with the slickest hair in old school rave, hardcore jungle music. He is the perfect specimen.
I kept looking around going like, what's he talking about? Is Pete Cannon coming on stage in a minute?
I don't even, how can the man like Jay Cunning utter the words of Pete Cannon? The two most beautiful men with the most beautiful hair. Please just.
We are, do you know what? Here we go.
Oh,
Pete's the only guy that I will concede best hair in the industry to. He can have it, Pete, but he wears a hat a lot at the moment now, so I don't know where he's at. We'll have to have a bit of a hair off in January, see what's going on.
What about when you go on the radio and I just, like when you're on, I pop into the chat and I go, please just straighten your hair. And the mad thing is when I asked, because me and Sonia do everything together, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm watching you on the YouTube or your radio, she's watching it with me and she'll see my comment. What have you just asked him to do? To stroke himself.
And I straight into the camera. Yeah. Blue steel look just for you, Dan, every time.
You don't even have to tend to it, really.
Do you know what my secret? I don't even know if it's a secret. I don't use hair gel.
Yeah.
It's moisturiser. That's all I put in my hair is moisturiser.
Talking to me. Keep talking to me, Mr. Jay Cunning. I've known you a long time now.
Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day and I believe the first time we met was when I was on Kiss.
When you was on Kiss.
And that would have been 2004, 2005, so like 20 odd
years. We've worked pretty closely, to be fair, through radio stations, through a shared love for the evolution of breakbeat
for sure
music and culture. I'm going to say,
I think musically we've definitely followed from that sort of era of breakbeat rave breaks. We definitely followed a very similar,
very similar. All of my events really, Rave Story, Unity. I always take great pleasure in having you on. Like my 35th, it was a real hand-picked selection of DJs in there.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say hundreds. I must know thousands of DJs, and there was actually only a few that I wanted on. And
I was truly grateful for that.
Yeah,
they're always good parties, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I can always trust you to do exactly what I want, like always. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that you've got such an understanding of the depth of old school music, and I love that. Where does that passion and love for the early old school rave scene come from?
So for me, I started, I don't have a cool music background story. I wasn't into electro, didn't know about hip hop. I used to listen to Alexander O'Neill, Terence Trent D'Arby. You know, it was a real
brilliant acts, brilliant acts, mate.
Yeah. And I used to buy the cassettes. The first record I ever bought was Kylie Minogue Locomotion, 7-inch record.
Yeah.
Or it was Axel F, the theme tune to Beverly Hills Cop. I'd like to say it was Axel F, because
that's
cooler. I'm pretty sure it was Kylie Locomotion.
Yeah.
So I never really had a very cool music backstory. But I'd say probably around 88, 89, a mate of mine who was a couple of years older bought some tapes around. So my house, my mum and dad used to go every weekend from the beginning of March to the end of October. So from about 14, 15, I stayed behind. My mates used to come over. Never had a party. It was always like 4 or 5 of us. And so we'd come round.
That is old school, your parents leaving you. That's what it was like back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. They used to love it because the house they didn't used to bother cleaning.
Right.
Because I used to be so paranoid about the house being a mess when they came back with cigarette butts and God knows what else. I'd clean the house top to bottom. They loved it. They'd come back in on Sunday and the whole place is spotless. So Rob brought round, I can't remember if he brought a tape or if he was tuned into the radio, but we started listening to that stuff around sort of 88, 89, and I was like, something just definitely clicked.
What sort of stuff? Tell me. So you say stuff. I want to know what stuff is.
I would say it was, I remember distinctly, he had a black TDK tape with green writing on it that was Frankie Bones. And I can't remember it was from a radio station, and I can't remember if it was that or if it was soon after, but it was that kind of sort of 88, 89. I remember it kind of being a little bit more breakbeat based stuff. So maybe it was more sort of 1990 stuff.
Well, 89, well, 88, because there was Frankie Bones, there was Frankie Shag Bones. Frankie Shag Bones was London, UK.
Yeah.
But Frankie Bones, as in Bones Breaks New York, his first lot of breakbeat stuff was 88. And I'm guessing you're referring to Frankie Bones as in New York.
Yes.
Frankie.
Yeah.
And by 89, the Bones Break stuff that Frankie had been making was very breakbeat.
Yeah.
And by 1990, it was in. So so Frankie Bones, what an intro.
So from there, really, it was all pirate radio, because obviously at that age you weren't old enough to go out. Then
London,
So I was London. So I grew up in Wembley.
Yeah.
So we used to, when we first started going out raving, it was, the first rave I ever went to was at Stearns in 1991.
which you love.
So I had a parallel intro into this scene. So I had my London-based mates that we were bringing in pirate radio. We were starting to listen to like kind of tapes and swapping tapes. And we were going to like Wembley Market, buying the cassettes. Then you were going to like record stores and buying the packs. And then down in Haley Island, we had a caravan down in Haley Island. And we went down there regularly from sort of like 88 onwards. I know I've got two mates that I'm still really good mates with now.
Yeah.
Again, they also got into the scene, but they were like the South Coast lot. So they would go to Brighton Centre, Stearns. They just basically lived in Stearns every Friday and Saturday night. And I remember going down there, and I wish I could remember when it was in 91, but I remember going down there like, we're going out. So we used to get involved and have a bit of fun, doing a bit of whatever. We'd go walking around Haley Island like lunatics, you know. Yeah. And
which is what teens do. Right? Teens do that,
yeah. So I remember they were like, right, we're going to go to this club called Stearns. They've only just kind of discovered it. And Dan, honestly, mate, that turned my world upside down. It brought the whole lot. Look, I'm even getting goosebumps. It turned my world upside down, because all this music I've been listening to on tape and on radio, now, like, I'd never been to a concert at that point, right? So even just listening to any music loud at that level, as we all know, right, that's how it is intended to be absorbed and appreciated and experienced. So going to Stearns, life-changing.
Life-changing. What pirate radios was you listening to up to that point?
So it was like Defection, Pulse, Touchdown was a bit later, Cool. They were definitely the main ones.
And what kind of DJs? Can you remember DJs that stood out?
There was Red Ant.
Legendary.
And Fearless was on there at one point. Mixmaster Max was one from Defection.
When people come in and mention Mixmaster Max, they talk with such passion. Like, to many people of the era, he was as good as Hype. To many people who mention him. Unbelievable.
Do you know what? I did actually hear him at Roller Express at some point during 92. And it just amazed me how he never actually kind of progressed off. From a radio perspective, his mixing style was second to none. He was turning tunes inside out. I remember he did a mix of Trip to the Moon Part 1, 2 and 3. Right. And still to this day, I haven't found the tape of where he did it. And I actually got in contact with him online about 6-7 years ago and just said to him, look, you know, mad respect for what you did back in the day. I don't suppose you've got a recording of that mix that you did. But I remember hearing in the club, and the mixing was so fast. I don't know if it really connected with the people that were there. I super appreciated it because I love fast mixing. But yeah, I always wondered how he was never, because you had that, there was very few pirate radio DJs that actually went on to be good club successes.
It's really true. Like so many of my original heroes and inspirations, even back to the Kiss FM 85, 86 era, were my favourite DJs. Were like I followed and listened to them religiously and went to the record shops they worked in. But many of them didn't break in the way that certain other DJs did. And I've never quite got my, pardon the pun, fingers on the pulse of why certain DJs were so amazing on radio, but didn't quite transcend to the flyers and the raves and stuff. And do you know what? I wonder if it's just a case of it was so early on in everyone's careers and lives and teenage like moment in time or early 20s that maybe they just didn't want to, or it wasn't for them, or there's so many unsung heroes who was as good as the household heroes, and I think he's one of those.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Blue Dread and Space were always good to listen to on Touchdown. I love them. They just had like a really good kind of rapport. You know, just it was such a lifeline, I think, especially in those early years, right? And it's funny to talk about this now because obviously you can tap into any style of music anywhere at your fingertips at an instant, wherever you want. But back then, you know, you didn't have the internet. So pirate radio really was that lifeline. So understanding, you know, what parties were going on, even though you weren't old enough to go to them, but just felt like you were connected to the scene, because it was this secret, like pirate radio was almost like a secret society, right, where you could get into and listen to it. So I've got a lot to thank for pirate radio, for sure.
Like, I love when people can express their feelings to like, and their vivid memories to what that moment was like for them. So say like Fabio sat there, he can like really vividly explain being the DJ of the moment, whereas you can vividly explain being like not even a raver yet, just like even though you're not going out, you feel part of the adverts, the DJs and the shout outs and all of that. And I think there's so many amazing little things that all make up to the history and the rave story. And I love pirate radio history.
Yeah, and you know, later on in my life, it was an absolute honour to be a part of that. You know, you were the one that introduced me getting not onto Cool, but actually back into radio, because I've been doing radio, I think, for about 10 years non-stop. And so then being part of that Cool story, you know, even now looking back thinking, I was on Cool FM for 11 years.
So proud of that,
Yeah, oh, for sure. You know, Eastman Suze, all the crew have did an amazing job with keeping that ethos of that station just running exactly where it needed to be for all those years.
Yeah, now Centre Force, you're now on
Centre Force, yeah, indeed, yeah. So over a couple of years. So I started off my radio on Lush FM, which was DJ Luck and MC Net. Well, it wasn't MC Needs, it was DJ Luck's pirate radio station. So again, for a friend of a friend, this would have been 98.
All right, well, tell us that, and then we're going to go right back again. That's blown me away.
Yeah. So I did, so again, for a mate of mine, I was playing garage at the time.
Yeah.
And a mate was like, oh, look, I know a mate who runs the station for Luck. Got a tape in, he's like, yeah, great, like he wants you in. So it was proper old school still back then, like, you know, don't take a record bag, put all your records in a bag. You'll find out where it is that week. There'll be a text message or a page or whatever it is that you go and find out. Mate, we went to I used to do the graveyard shift, which was 4 till 6 on a Saturday morning. For I can't remember how long. Then I did 6 till 8. But that was great experience. You know, in and out of like all these. It went to council flats. It was in the back of a cab office in Cricklewood for a while. It was one of them I actually did on DJ Lux at his mum's house. I turned up and he'd unscrewed the door from one of the rooms and just laid it over top of his mum's kitchen and had the turntables and the decks.
I loved pirate radio. When I was on Eruption. Early 94. I always think it's late 93, but I think it was early 94. Some of the encounters we had, I remember one time we was up at top floor of a flat and it was like literally, it was the whole of this top of this derelict building. I'm playing and Sonia was with me. All of a sudden, a geezer's come out with a needle hanging out of his arm from the other end of this top floor of this derelict building, and we was like, "Fuck, this is rough ass this." And another time, me and Sonia got over in Hackney, got stuck in the actual flat. And like my show was 10 to 12 on a Sunday night, and we got stuck in the flat till like 6 o'clock in the morning. Incidentally, Alan Demolition Crew, he's going to come up at some point. Nice. I want to go back to 91 and your first Stearns experience, because other clubs fascinate me. I know I go on about Labyrinth all the time, and rightly so, but I love other people's experiences of the other legendary clubs, because I didn't experienced them, and T-Cuts talks with such passion about Stearns. I know what it means to you, and I see down my timeline what Stearns means to people in like almost in an almost biblical sense, in the same way that Labyrinth and AWOL and Rage means to the London scene.
Yeah.
Explain, Stearns, to me, the DJs who you first heard, the atmosphere, the club that, like I played at the venue later on, but not in the height of the era that golden era that you experienced. It immerse me, like let all your visions and your feelings come out about the place.
So the first word is family. That's the first word that comes to mind to me when I think of Stearns. I remember bricking it because like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even used to go, we didn't go into clubs. I was probably 15, 16, so definitely underage or whatever. So I remember like the anticipation because you're driving up this weird kind of road going up to the hill. There's the car park and you're starting to hear that as you go in there. I remember walking in there and it was just something just clicked straight away. The reason why I say family is because I've never seen so many smiling, happy, friendly faces anywhere.
Love that.
Right? And that obviously wasn't unique to Stearns, right? That was that vibe and the culture of the rave scene all over the place. But this is my first place walking into it. So I remember going in there, and what Stearns really encouraged something for me is something that I adopted through all my raving kind of time, was that I always loved exploring. So I'd go in there with a group of people, within half an hour I'm chatting to another group of people, then I'm going to another room, then I'm out wherever. And I think that, and I've only really just probably realised this, that kind of going to Stearns where you had the underground, the middle floor, the top floor, the tea room, the cinema, and all these different spaces that you could go and explore. Every time we'd go to Roller Express, we'd walk in there, right, see at 6 a.m. and I'd bump into them at some point. But Stearns, the middle floor, if I remember rightly, there was half a car that the decks were in there. So there's all this stuff that was a little bit
amazing,
but I love it and great. And just, again, it was just the people. Like the music almost was kind of secondary from my recollection now, because it was just being immersed. And I think, probably at the time I didn't realise that there were this many people that were into it, because you're quite isolated. You listen on pirate radio and you've got a couple of groups of mates, but you're not going out, so you're not seeing the impact that this scene is having. And I know you've talked about this on a couple of podcasts, that it is the perception of how big it was versus the reality is quite different. But I'm at this point, right, looking into it that way. So, the exploring of it, and even I just remember just going to the cinema and just kind of sitting down. And just straight away, someone's, oh, what are you doing? Where are you from? I'm from London. Oh, wow, you come down from London. And you're just instantly chatting. There's not a single barrier between you and any person that you talk to. And I haven't mentioned the underground yet, because I'm going to save the best bit till last. And it was the same in the tea room. You'd go out there and you wouldn't hear the music, but just that cacophony of chatter. Yeah. Everyone happily buzzing away, chatting.
Could you hear the bass coming through the other rooms, rumbling away into that room?
And just, there was no two experiences were the same there. And then, you get to that underground, and I will clearly always vividly remember what it was like going down there. Because it was just these stairs with these shitty old red carpet and the things to kind of walk down, and you're hearing what's going on in the middle floor, and then that's transitioning as you're starting to hear like the bass was coming down. And as you're walking down, there's a specific point when the lasers then just hit you, right? So you're kind of half blindsided, and you go that. Now, if I remember rightly, as soon as you got to the bottom of the stairs, I think the DJ booth was immediately to the left. Never knew that at the time. It was only from a photo that I saw of Top Buzz in there. I'll tell you, go into that afterwards. So you go down to this underground, and it's just like everyone's in unison. Again, I'll go back to that family word, right? Everyone's on that same vibe.
You want to pop a pill? Carry on, sorry, God.
Maybe one or two. And I spent a lot of time down in the underground. It just, who wouldn't want to? That's my kind of dream gig. I love doing the big festivals and everything. That's great, but there isn't that kind of close connection with people and the atmosphere and what's going on.
What the music was, what tunes, what DJs.
So like Alpha Wave would have been a big one. There was So this is 91, so late 91. There was definitely a kind of sound. It wasn't kind of jungle techno, wasn't really quite making its mark there, but you were getting such a nice mixture of like kind of 4/4 stuff and break key stuff. So why is it the only tune I can think of is Alpha Wave?
Yeah.
But the DJs down there, I mean, I remember seeing Moby down there. Moby was a hardcore DJ before who he is now, which if you told anyone that,
They wouldn't believe
didn't know, they would be like, no, that's crazy. And then there was MC Stompy Don, which was, you know, again, I actually met him. I played at a Stearns reunion 3 years ago, which again was a total minefield for me, in a good way. And meeting him, I remember seeing Slipmat, LSD, Top Buzz, Mickey. I'm pretty sure. When were you playing down there?
I didn't play there till 90s. I never played for Stearns the Rave. I played at the venue.
Yeah,
like 96, 97. You definitely
no. I did 91 and 92.
You definitely
yeah,
see me.
Yeah, just honestly, I've got so much love for Stearns. Like that holds such a place in my heart for being the first place, but being so welcoming. And it's probably the one that I went to the most.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how many times I wish I'd 8, 9, 10, 15, 5, maybe I only went once.
Yeah, but when did you start buying records and wanting to be a DJ?
So it was before Stearns, and this is the bit I was going to get to. So I was buying records from around 1990, I'd say. So I was buying like the early R&S stuff from on Insomniac, I Can't Sleep.
I played it on the radio this day.
Yeah.
I must sleep.
So we used to go to Naked Records in Harrow and Wealdstone.
Yeah.
And we used to go to, I should have tried to remember, there was one in Rayners Lane that we used to go to.
Record Centre.
The one that was downstairs, it was John Jules, that used to man it. We never went to like Black Market or any of the ones uptown. Like I've listened to so many interviews. We were quite timid and quite intimidated by these bigger record stores. I'm pretty sure I remember kind of going into Black Market once, and I think I must have been a bit baked and walking in there going, oh no,
yeah, too many people.
That's a bit too much. So I started buying them, and I had like this old kind of, you know, those old wooden disco decks. They didn't have any pitch on them. They had like just sort of up faders on there. I swapped it for a BMX with my mate or whatever it was I swapped it for. So I had those in my room. So all you could do was just spin back and then play the other one, or maybe try and find that was the. I mean, I had no idea how to beat match.
Nor did I. And I've been DJing for 5 years.
You know,
as you know,
I learned to beat match off cassette.
Right.
So I'm into New Zealand in '93. My parents, as a family, we moved out there in '93.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How long was you there for?
I was only there for the year.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, well, actually, the slightly longer version story is that they said they were selling up and we said, should we going to move to New Zealand? I had a mate out there. I was like, yeah, that's great. I've never, in my early especially, been a very deep thing. So I thought, this is great. Didn't really think of the impact. But in that short time that the house went up for sale, so by summer '92, I was now fully into this rave scene.
Yeah.
Like I was going out every weekend. We were locked into all the pirates. We had like a mad selection of kind of records and tape packs. So I was like, and it was also my 18th birthday in December 1992 on Christmas Eve. So I said to Mum and Dad, look, I want to stay behind for 3 months because they were going beginning of October. So I said, I want to stay behind. Now that was a bit of a mad one, an emotional one, because they had left. And then I went to Kissing Ibiza with like Rob Marathon Blake, Colin Faver, Colin Dale, Steve Jackson. They did
as a fan, not
Kiss FM as a no. God, I wasn't playing.
He was not there, but
no. They did like a week's holiday in Ibiza the week after it. So I came back from then, like a week of like. I mean,
you've got pictures, right?
Yes, I have.
You shared.
Yeah.
We're in a group. Me, Jay, T Cuts, Swankow, Harkin, Pete Cannon. Did I say Pete?
Yeah.
And yeah, you've shown us pictures of you. Brilliant. Yes, it's all coming together now. Go on.
So we
tell me the DJs again, because that was
Rob Marathon Man Blake, Steve Jackson,
legend,
Colin Dale,
legend,
Colin Faver,
legend.
I've got a picture of Colin Dale from 1992 of me and him, and I've got one of 2025 of me and him at Labyrinth when I played there.
I love Colin.
So I'll have to send those to you. Maybe we can slap them in
I
there.
love Colin.
But that was such a beautiful, genuine guy. I heard you and Fabio talking about it, and it was lovely to hear the love from Fabio to Colin. I think he's such a genuinely nice guy. Yeah. So anyway, I stayed behind, and then I went to New Zealand in '93, and honestly, my mate had bought the two Sound Labs. I can't remember the model name, the classic ones with a made to fade mixer. None of us knew how to mix. We didn't know any DJs. It was literally just like, just clash the beats and then just slap it or spin back and off you go. I went to New Zealand and spent a whole year listening to tapes because I didn't have any pirate radio, didn't have access to records, didn't have anything, couldn't go out anywhere. Did go out to one rave. Andrew Weatherall played at this club called the Bass Bogs. It's quite sad because there was only about 15 people in there. And I was like, oh.
But it was early though.
New Zealand, this was 93. New Zealand's changed massively since then. Yeah. So I spent the whole year just analysing tapes because I was like, I remember a Brocky tape they sent me from Cool. And I was like, how is he getting those two tunes to travel at exactly the same point? And then this is doing that, and then he can hand off for that tune. So I kept rewinding it. I was like, oh, okay, right, there's patterns. And I really started to understand. I didn't know about beats, bars and phrases. I learned to mix through changes in sound. Right. I only understood beats, bars and phrases until, well, it was 2014 when I learnt beats, bars and phrases. So like 20, 30 years after. I understood beats and bars, but phrases didn't understand that at all. Right. Only when I had to start teaching DJing, you started to understand. I've got to explain what's in my head to someone. So I came back from New Zealand and just started mixing. To this day, my mates were convinced that I spent the whole year in New Zealand practicing on turntables. Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So other raves, like so you went New Zealand, but in that point of discovering Stearns, going to New Zealand, what other raves, events, DJ, where else was you going? So I should say, before Stearns, technically my first, I kind of went to a few illegal ones on Haley Island. They weren't like massive things. It was probably 200 to 200 people. Someone's got a generator on the beach. There's just a lamp and deck setting up. So I did have some early experience, and that I remember that kind of being acid house and you know, all those kind of bits and pieces. But when that moved on to after Stearns, so I came back and I said to my mates, right, we have got to start going out. We've been listening to Pirate for however long. That's nothing compared to when you hear it out. So my mate Rob again was like, he was a couple of years older. So he was like, look, my mate's involved in this night called Imagination, which is run in, it was in Liverpool Street on Bishopsgate. And they just hired basically a hall. So we went there, and it turns out many years later, this night was run by Red One, which was Ram Records, which is Scott Bourne, which is Andy C's manager. What he used to run, he used to run Ram Records, and I found this out because many years later, I was a resident for Ram. I was A&R for a label, for them, and so I got to find out all the insights to it. So that was a bit mad. And there was a DJ there called Just Jones, and he got in touch with me about 2 months ago because I talked about him on my show, and I remember Imagination went to 3 of them. They did one in Stoke Newington, small little club. I don't think they had many people there. They just pumped it full of smoke. The DJ booth was like in a cage, and you could go up the stairs, so you could literally be on the stairs watching. And this was interesting for me because actually this was the first time I'd actually made an effort to watch a DJ. Right. When I went to clubs, even though there was like LSD and Randall and Rat Pack and Ray and all these DJs that I loved, I'd never go and find the DJ booth. I was either on the dance floor dancing, or I was working the peripherals, just chatting shit to whoever I could. The social element of raving, loved it, absolutely loved it. But this Just Joan guy, I've never seen anything like it. Probably the closest I've seen to it is Eric Murillo. And he had basically 2 turntables, and he was mixing one in quick, and he would just put the record behind him like that, and then do that, grab the other one off his mate, and I was just in awe of this guy going like back to back. DJ in the 80s, get Cash Money getting past the as well. He's actually on YouTube, and he's done a few mixes. Go and check him out. I'm intrigued. Yeah, he really did. So that was a big one, but a big one for us was Astoria. I went to a lot of the Astoria events for, like, you know, Orange and just the regular nights that they used to do there. I've got some beautiful memories of Astoria, the one that will stay with me for the rest of my life. I don't think this was the first time I heard Outer Space, but it was definitely the most memorable. We were at Astoria, and at the time we were right up, you know, obviously you got right up the kind of bits at the top where you're overlooking, and God knows who played it. Someone played it. The whole place erupted singing that, right? And again, look
at the goosebumps on him.
It just all went off, and we were like, what's going on? Like, we were kind of sort of singing it, and then everyone started to get up and stand on the chairs, and the whole place was just singing their hearts out.
I love that.
To Outer Space. Like, just such an amazing memory. But I remember seeing Hype there. I'm sure Chalky was down there. And again, like, even I was so into the music and being like, I was interested in DJing and I was buying records, but the raving part of me was 95%.
Yeah.
That being in it and doing it.
It's interesting because like, this might be different for me because like I DJ'd for so long.
Well, you started out as right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I've never really DJ worshipped as such. I have DJs of the 80s, but it's like on Saturday just gone, me and three really close mates who used to come out when I used to DJ 91, 92, 93, 94. And they're all you know, they'd go Labyrinth, they'd go Bagley's, they'd go to Rocket, they'd come on the road to me to Big Helter Skelters and Dreamscapes. And them lots of memories ain't about DJs. They're not about me, they're not about my mates. Sometimes they're not even about the music. We was out all day Saturday having an old mates reunion, and they're talking more about the memories of like, do you remember that venue? Do you remember that place we went to and it was in like an old garage and we all come out and our clothes were in? Do you remember the Four Aces, all them different rooms? And often I will put up videos and talk about stuff, and the amount of people who write underneath, we were never into DJs, we were just into the scene and the togetherness, and I think there's something endearing about that, and I think that we've almost got into this thing where DJs are hero worshipped, and sometimes for the wrong reasons. Do you know what I mean?
But also back then, you know, you didn't, you know, there was no such thing as like kind of superstar DJs.
Really
you didn't have it then, you know, to be honest, because, you know, the magazines at the time didn't cover the music and just slagged it off. You know, there was no other forms of media. So I didn't have a clue who any of them even looked like, let alone anything else. You know, it wasn't that long ago that the DJ had a box of 7-inch records from sitting in the corner of the room. Yeah. Just selecting one record after another. So that, I think it's gone way too far now with the kind of sort of, you know, I think showmanship works, but when it's the core aspect of what you've got to do, something has fundamentally gone wrong. Performing music for people is the key aspect of a DJ, right? And look, I know you love to jump around, I love to jump around, but I think we've gone too far, and hopefully there'll be a correction back in there. But at that time, you know, you knew the names and you respected them, and you went to Wembley Market or to these places and you bought their tapes. You know, when you opened up that tape pack, you know, I'd always go for LSD. Or Slipmat, you know, and if it was one that was a bigger one, I always end up going for Ray or Randall. Those four, like, you know, played such a huge influence in how I mix as a DJ now, and actually how I still want to evolve as a DJ now. I think I'm all right, but I know I can be better.
Well, that's part of human nature, and being people who want to progress, you always want to be better. Like better yourself even at this age. Yeah,
for sure. So Astoria was a huge part of our life in like late 91, 92. And the other one is Roller Express. My God, we lived down there. So the first event we went to there was Para Club, which would have been, and I've still, not only have I got the flyer, if you remember from my 50th, I got the, Dave from Fat Media, bless him, thank you Dave, he sent me all these crazy high-res scans. There's nights that we went to, and they're all printed up in A1 and A0. And I love the little names they used to give for all the DJs. I don't know if that's where Roy got Campton from, actually. Maybe it was. I've never asked him. So Roller Express was, I loved it down there because I think as you become a bit more familiar with the venue, you start becoming a bit more comfortable. But for me, it suited like my style of raving perfectly. You had a massive big area where it was the main show, where it was all the music that you loved. You had a little kind of bar at the top that sometimes had DJs and sometimes didn't. And then you had a massive area bit where all the lockers and the changing bit was for the roller disco, with people just sitting around lounging. And then at later points in roller, and more in the summer months, they used to have inflatables outside.
Amazing.
Which I actually, so there's one, it's reminded me of one there, and I forgot to say this on my little Ravers Tales videos. We'd gone to Roller Express, me and my mate were like outside having a cigarette, just, you know, catching up with stuff. And they got this inflatable maze with a roof on it. So me and my mate were in there like tripping out, going, oh, this is a bit mad fun. So we get in there and we just heard, oi, oi, oi. What? This thing weighs 1.3 tons and is going to deflate in 30 seconds. What? So I was scrambling in trying to get out. There was a mad punch or something, and I couldn't stop it. This thing was basically collapsing, and we had to get out of it. Yeah, but we had others. We know when you put the big Velcro suit on. Imagine that, like, you know, out in the middle of a rave, it was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna put a mad Velcro suit on. I'm gonna throw myself. So yeah, those two, we did like a few other bits and pieces, but those were like the regular mainstays for 92.
Yeah, you love them. You got a love for AWOL as well.
I never went to AWOL. What? I know.
But your passion and knowledge of AWOL is incredible.
I know, mate. I know.
Like literally, like your inner AWOL.
I actually feel embarrassed.
Your inner AWOL is incredible.
I know. Do you know
You've studied AWOL though. As a DJ and a historian, you have studied AWOL.
It's my one regret. I don't even know if I was fully aware of it. I don't know if it came on my radar. I only got the first tape was the Randall 1992 set, and it's still hands down one of my top sets.
Yeah.
The mixing on that is absolutely second to none. And this is 92, right? This isn't like big long intros. Still, the structure of tunes, there's an odd little bar being thrown here and there. Yeah. We've got a little bit better musically from a structure perspective than we have from 1991. But it's still a little bit all over the shop. And he just mixed these tunes and just this is what is the sounds that he made that is truly at the very core of my DJing. It's about creating taking two sounds and making one different.
Do you remember we had a really deep conversation about a year and a half ago where I said there's sets of Randall in 89 where he is so far superior at blending two records for a long time in the mix and being in pirate radio studios doing it, where it's like you can go back now, and he created timeless mixes in the infancy of very, very early breakbeat and bass music, like Renegade Soundwave music on like Warriors Dance and stuff like that. And me, you and the others got into a conversation about how tight he was beyond other DJs of the era.
Yeah, the pitch rider Randall.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience, and I'm pretty sure I was in New Zealand. My mate had copied the tape from me and sent it to me in New Zealand. So it was only at that point I think I became aware of it. Meanwhile, my mates have found out about it through this tape, and so they spent a load of 93 going there. So they were there loads in 1993. So yeah, I never went there. That's gutted, mate.
That is absolutely incredible. That's blown my mind, because like you're such a historian. It's like if you was to say, like, can you create an AWOL set from, you would do it. You would know exactly what to do.
Do you know, 100%. But do you know what it is? What I found out about, or what I began to understand later about the recorded sets from AWOL is that the pressure and intensity those DJs were under by themselves within their kind of peer group, and it was all friendly competition. But if you listen to Mickey Finn talking about AWOL or Gachet or interviews that any one of those Kenny Ken Randall, any ones that those DJs have done, they all talk about like needing to step up to Randall, right?
Yeah,
Randall's playing that night.
That, yeah.
They all knew, right? They've got to bring that A game. They've got to bring the big tunes. They've got to dig deep. They've got to be spot on with their mixing. And it felt like a lot of those guys saw Randall as setting the pace for what AWOL stood for musically.
Yeah.
And so when I started to understand that, and you listen back to the tapes, you're like, oh yeah. No wonder if Randall's sitting in the corner just going, I'm watching you, mate.
Yeah, I'm watching you lot. Come on. So you go New Zealand, you're getting sent all the tapes, come back. Tell me that trajectory. I want to know the sort of like trajectory from coming back to you then DJing, getting onto pirate radio. Tell me.
So I did, came back, it was 94. So the venue had very much changed then to Sanctuary, right? So we were going to Helter Skelter's, Dreamscapes. I think there was probably another couple of promoters that put nights on that weren't quite as successful as those ones. So I'm still a raver, still buying records. I'm starting to get better at DJing. Me and my mate have saved up and bought a Technics, 1210 each. So we've now, it was in 94. So I'm still a raver, and we're going out to hardcore nights. We now start going out to jungle nights. You know, that scene in 94 is starting to see a definition between, you know, what is hardcore and what is jungle. There's still nights that are doing the crossover. You know, that's why I loved actually Helter Skelters and the Dreamscapes, because you could have like DJ Sai and then Fabio, then Slipmat, then Randall, and then Groove Rider. You know, it was still a real nice mash of everyone. So I was quite shy and not very confident in myself as a young person, right? And I remember that Dream FM was quite a big radio station for us in 94. We used to listen to it a lot, Tony J and what have you. And we got to the point where we used to record tapes all the time, but I was never happy with them. We were never happy with them. We called up the station, like we never used to phone out for shouts. We even like just no one wanted to do it. We were all scared about doing it. I think I got put off calling Weekend Rush up in 92, and I can't remember calling him saying, if you've got that tune that says like, you know, can't beat the system, go with the flow. I had no idea what it was called. He's like, what? I was like, you know, that track that goes, can't beat the system, go with the flow. He goes, I ain't got a clue what you're talking about. I just put the phone down. I was like, well, that's it. I'm never calling the pirate.
That's a pirate radio thing to do, isn't it?
Calling anyone
People
again.
just do nothing attitude.
Yeah, right. So we went to meet them on, I think it was Wimbledon Common or somewhere. And in the morning, we just bottled it. We didn't go down. So I remember having a chat with my dad, and actually I bawled my eyes out afterwards, because my dad's like, we haven't had very emotional talks, right? I get on well with him, but he's pretty close when it comes to emotions, right? So he's been in New Zealand for a couple of years. I've come back, so this is probably 95. Or maybe it was 96 actually. My nan passed away, so he'd come over, and one night we'd go out for a curry, we'd come up, he'd drop me off in the car, and he just said, look, do you know what? Like this music thing, you seem to be quite serious about it. He said, look, I'm really proud of what you've done with work and with everything. And look, like, if you're going to do this music thing, you've got to stop relying on other people. You've got to do it. And honestly, mate, I went inside, I just bawled my eyes out. One, because I think it was true, and it was quite scary to think you'd have to do it by yourself. But probably most importantly was that, you know, that was real, like, proper good advice from your dad. And as I can say, he was around, like he wasn't absent. We'd go on holidays and we'd go take us swimming and stuff. But emotionally, there wasn't really much, right?
It's incredible, because you become one of the most important breakbeat DJs in the world with your Kiss FM show. So something must have absolutely stuck. So you had the chat.
Yeah.
Then what did that?
So then from there, it just, you know what? I kind of remember it just being quite clear. There was definitely a period of like, shit, am I going to be able to do this on my own? And my ethos has always just been, try, ask.
Yeah.
You don't get, if you don't ask, you won't succeed if you don't try. So I remember getting the first gig that I'd ever, we did like a couple of mates parties where we had to hire speakers and take all the decks down, and that was just horrible doing that. But the first paid gig that I had was at a place called Trinity Bar in Harrow. So it's this kind of, it's like the Iron Building in New York, but a lot smaller, a lot shitter. But upstairs was a great little space, probably fit about 60, 70 people super comfortably. They paid us 50 quid to do 4 hours and you'd get your drinks for free.
Yeah.
I was well happy.
He'd arrived.
There's some promoters that will still pay you that, but they won't give you the free beer.
Yeah.
So that was, I remember that being a big moment for me. That was me really stepping out and getting to experience it. But it took a long time. It wasn't until, I think, 99, 2000 where I started, tell a lie. 98 was the next gig that I can remember, and that was with DJ Lux. So the Lush FM did a party in Watford. I can't remember the name of the club, but the DJ booth is above the subs. So as you're turning and playing, you're literally, I honestly thought I was going to shit myself.
Yeah.
Like it was shaking so much. And but that wasn't a very nice experience because in the garage scene.
So you was doing garage on Lush FM and gigs. It was garage.
Yeah. And so it was a bit of a hole. So like I did 2 gigs with them, and I did one, and like the guy was there, and I was kind of like 1 minute, two, going to, and I started tapping on the shoulder, and he just give me a like that, and then he's playing sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, and not even acknowledging me. So I'm tapping again, and he's like. Then he comes off. Then the next guy comes on again. They just seem to be, we're all from the same radio station, but no one wants to even talk to each other, let alone kind of respect each other's timelines. Anyway, so it wasn't until the breakbeat scene that I started really getting out there and playing some places. I used to go to really weird record shops. So I used to go to Carbon, which was in High Street, Kensington, underneath, what's that kind of clothes store? I can't remember if there's a clothes store, but they used to have these record stores underneath them. And most of it was breakbeat down there, but they did a bit of house and whatever. So I was kind of crossing over into breakbeat, and I was actually starting to play breakbeat in my garage sets. And I would actually get some of the DJs texting in going, I'm DJ blah blah from the station, what's that tune that you're playing? Because obviously they're all buying from garage places soon. So anyway, I then kind of got in contact with Alex, who was then Sons of Mecca at that time, before he was King Youth. And because I saw a Breaks FM flyer, and they'd just done a night and I'd missed it. And so I called him up, super keen, next morning, 9:30 on a Sunday. And he's like, hello, bruv. I was like, hi, my name's Jay, blah, blah, blah. I was like, look, I'd love to kind of start playing on the station. He's like, I only just got to bed about an hour ago. Anyway, we ended up on the phone for about 3 hours having a good chat. And that just opened that whole world of the breakbeat, which is the polar opposite to what I'd experienced in the garage scene. Everyone was super friendly, wanted to help each other out. And it just, things just went kind of mad from there, really.
I loved that break scene. I really loved it. It kind of felt like it had a natural affinity to the early 90s breakbeat rave scene. I could always see why a whole load of people, whether it was your Rennie Pilgrims, yourself, LSD, a whole load of people immersed themselves in that breakbeat music of the latter 90s going into the early noughties.
Pete Parsons, 3J Tamsin,
yes,
Shut Up and Dance, Force Mass Motion, even Dylan Rhymes, who's Marvin Beaver. I only found this out a few years ago. He was Dance City Records.
Wow.
Menace Makes 3 and all that stuff was all him. It blew my little tiny mind, actually.
It just always seemed like a natural progression for certain people. So how did that trajectory, because it always fascinates me, like you being on Kiss FM and you was literally the voice of breakbeat music worldwide. How did that come about, the Kiss thing?
So Kiss FM. So I was on Breaks FM for a number of years, 4 or 5 years, I think it was. And then I just got a show on Ministry of Sound Radio. And then it feels like what was a month later, I can't remember how I found out, but Kiss were doing trials for the Breakbeat show because Teo was moving on to Radio 1. So that opened up his slot. And I think Danny McMillan had done it before him. So, God, I can't really remember how it all came about, but I've obviously found a way of how to kind of connect with the studio. And I went down there and I just kind of did what I did. I picked up, I think you did a 20-minute pretend radio station where you'd play a number of records, do a few shout outs and just, get your personality across. And they called me up and they went, yeah, like you were the choice. We'd like you to start in a couple of weeks.
How good did that feel?
Oh, mate, do you know what? There were some really key moments in my musical career where I've literally just been, I can't believe this is actually happening. That was definitely one of them for sure. And so I had to tell Ministry, look, after only being on there 2 months, I'm sorry, I'm going off to Kiss.
Because it was a big thing being on Ministry. Like,
yeah, for sure.
At that time, I was on Ministry, Matt Jamlamont, Drum and Bass Arena was on there, Head Candy.
Yeah.
There was if you got on Ministry, it was like, I'm on Ministry, but ultimately, Kiss was far bigger than being on Ministry.
Do you know what for sure, for Reach, right? And I think also with Ministry, I've always wanted to be able to do my own thing. It's really important that I'm given the musical freedom to do what I want, but also just stuff that I want to do with the show. And Ministry were like, you've got, like, they had this folder. If you remember this folder.
I remember the
you had to
folder.
pick 2 of them out and read them out. I'm like, Tampon Adam, that's a holiday.
I remember the folder.
Ireland, and I'm like, none of this is relevant to what I'm doing. So I didn't do it. So I'm sure it would have been kicked off there anyway. But yeah, so Kiss basically let me do whatever I wanted to do. It was live for the first, I did 4 years. So it was live for the first 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, 11 till 1 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Because it was a golden time for underground radio being on a commercial station, because you was doing the breaks, Hype was doing the
drum and bass on there.
Drum and bass, EZ was on there.
Yeah, Hatcher joined doing dubstep about halfway through.
Hatcher was on there. Logan Sama doing the grime music. Literally the cream of each underground genre was on there. And I remember when you invited us up, it was like, it was a big moment for us, like, wow, like there was certain pinnacle moments, say 20 odd years ago, that if like you got invited to do a mini mix on Annie Mac, which I was fortunate enough to get, if you was invited onto Jay Cunning's show for an interview, which me and Slipman had. They were big moments. Now with us sitting here, you probably, it doesn't register to us. It's just like we take the piss out of each other a day in a WhatsApp group. Do you know what I mean? But they were, in the name of, I guess, media promotion, what would now be social media or a podcast like what we're doing now, there was certain shows within genres that were pivotal moments that you had to go on to. So when we come with you to have interviews, it was to promote our albums on the irony to promote our albums on Ministry after you'd blown them out. But it was a huge show, Jay.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I really, really loved it, and it had a good reach, had a good impact. You know, my ethos in music in general has always been about what I get the most enjoyment from is 2 things. One, sharing music, and that's not just about DJing, but it's on radio. I really love doing radio because radio gives me an opportunity to go across the different styles.
Yeah.
In a club, I do have to be a little bit more considered and focused on a certain style. Radio allows me to be completely free, and that's what I loved about the Breakbeat show is I could play some of the tech funk stuff that like Force, Meet Katie and Elite Force were making, but I could do some of the like real tear out stuff that like Decline and all those guys were doing, and I could play everything in between. And there's that, but also the other thing is about nurturing talent. You know, I've always loved it, and it's kind of been to my business detriment, but I've never been in it for the money. Both Menu Music and Substays, both the labels that I had, were, especially Subsayers, that was when I had a label on my own, that really gave me the chance to kind of bring in some new talent, work with them just on the music, on their career, help with the promotion, getting them gigs, to the point where, you know, I ended up signing Schema over to Viper Recordings, did them an album deal there. Alex went off to Chopstick Dub Play.
Rack and Ruin.
Rack and Ruin, in all fairness, I only had one release.
But they went on to
Gordon City.
Gordon
City, yeah. And then Schema went on to have like a release with Ram Records. Toronto's Broken got signed to Viper. But that's when you know, obviously I know that because I've always worked full time, I can do so much, but then that's it. Like those that deserve to go further, I'm not going to hold on to you and safeguard you. No, like.
Yeah, you can't
go off and fly. Yeah, that's what I've done my bit. Now I've got you up to step 1 or 2 or whatever it is. Now off you go.
Because with your let's go from that Kiss period to your first label, then Sub Slayers. You was around some incredible breakbeat artists breaking their first ever tunes.
Yeah,
like tell us some of the artists in the world of breaks that one, you played their music as world exclusives, but also you went around the world with a lot of people into Europe DJing.
Yeah. I mean, I did. So some of the artists, Freestylers, Sanders, Plump DJs. You know, Rennie Pilgrim. Freak Nasty, you know, these are the guys with the kind of the real
superstars.
Yeah,
of that
for
music.
sure. You know, these guys were doing like tours of Australia, and you know, there was like I don't know if people remember this or didn't know this or whatever, but breakbeat, you know, when a scene is done well, because at that point a big gauge was how much is Fabric supporting it, and every Friday night was breakbeat.
Yeah,
but it was either 1 or 3 rooms of breakbeat of like, you know, just an absolute. But there was also people like Pete Basebin Twins in the US who was making breakbeat stuff in like 91, 92, 93. It was more that kind of, you know, US 808 Miami kind of time. But I remember buying records from him in '94. Yeah, of DJ and DJ Icy stuff.
Icy stuff was
Icy stuff. Basebin Twins. Those two were like bang on it. Then you had, but then there was like kind of people like Crafty Cuts as well, who had kind of put up with those guys. But there were just hundreds more of super talented, you know, Dramatic Twins, which is Shades of Rhythm. Yeah, you know, those guys made some phenomenal
you know what?
stuff.
Like some of those names you've mentioned. Like now, when you see like superstars of EDM or superstars of the modern drum and bass, a lot of those names you just mentioned were that of their era traveling the world. Spain was huge, wasn't it?
Spain was big as well. Do you know what? I'm going to hop a couple of countries around to get there. So the other thing I wanted to mention is people then started doing live stuff. So Atomic Hooligan, I think at one point, you know, Terry's been my best mate for like decades now. He was doing like a 12, 16 piece band. Like proper electronic, like he was like doing Glastonbury and all those, or the whole band were. But with the label, we also had people like Rico Tubbs, who Finnish guy, who was actually the official DJ for the Bomb Funk MCs. Freestyling,
rucka, microphone. What a video!
All those guys over there.
That is such a cool video, isn't it?
It is. And then we had Lady Wax from Russia.
She's brilliant. I still watch and listen to her.
She's amazing, mate.
She's legendary, dude.
Yeah, she is a one-woman powerhouse. Yeah, she's a phenomenal graphic artist. She's amazing musically. She's an amazing DJ and radio host. She has built an empire. She's an amazing businesswoman, and she's all done this bringing up a kid. Yeah, she honestly, I've got so much love for her. She really has to it. So we're going to hop around to Spain. Spain is a whole new world altogether. So if you think about all the clubs and stuff that we've got in the UK, you know, you go into whatever that's 500 or 1,000 cap. You're dotted around all over the place. You get your festivals in the summer. When you talk about Spain and Andalusia, you're talking like Granada, Malaga, Seville, Gibraltar, all around that kind of southern coast. I think the smallest party I played for was probably 3,500 people. Wow. And I was signed to an agency called Satisfaction, which were, to equate it, they were like the Ministry of Sound in the UK. They ran everything. They were promotions, they were doing agency, they had record labels. So we used I did one night called, one festival called Asparago, and they would be in like Formula One racetracks, and it was colossal in size. So we were playing on the second stage, like 3 till 4 in the morning. Me and Terry from Atomic Hooligan used to do our kind of 7 decks and effects.
Oh, amazing.
Matt used to come up as well. We used to have MC Xander doing beatboxing, and he's like next level beatboxing stuff. So we used to put on quite a big show. And I don't think we did for this time. I think me and him were just doing it back to back. So to give you a kind of idea of the kind of festival, they were had the Wailers were on the main stage. We're on the second stage, which was probably about 5,000-6,000. The main stage closes at 2. We're on 3 till 4 for argument's sake. So for that hour, these tens and tens of thousands of people are all just piling around from room 1. I'm not joking. 3 minutes before we're going on, I can't see the end of where the people are.
Wow.
It was absolutely, there's actually a super really shitty low res video of it out there. All of the gigs out there were just like incredible, amazing.
Yeah. I was saying to little Max up at Central, Max, right?
Yeah.
I was giving him a rundown of your history and our friendship, when you joined, and I said, you don't realise how big potatoes Jay was. I said to him, the break scene of 20 years ago, 25 years ago, with the size of some of the artists and how worldwide it is. And I was, because he's 21, so when you was doing all of that stuff, I was saying, trust me, my mate Jay, you in big potatoes, dudes, big potatoes. And it was such a huge.
Yeah, just immense. But these parties would go on all year long. So all in throughout the summer. Halloween's a massive big festival. Around New Year's and Christmas is massive. It just keeps on going. I got a good story that also involves outer space. So I only played I played twice in a club in in Spain. One was at Razzmatazz with Josh Wink, and that's quite an interesting story.
Yeah, we'll have that one then.
The second one is it was an open air club, so it's through Satisfaction, and I was playing 6 till 7. Now, I know this will spark you.
Am I going to like
it? Was the last set, right? Because the last set is still coveted over there. 91, 92, 93, 94. You guys, I'm assuming everyone wanted the last set because everyone stayed to the end, and that's who you remembered the most.
Yeah, well,
when you went home.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to Roy LSD about this. He said, I'd always ask for the last set.
Always.
He said, I'd look at the gigs and I'd go, right, it's Fantasia, it's this, that, right, Fantasia, I want 6 till 7 in the morning, and I'll work backwards to work my night out. So I played this club. The guys, the promoter said to me, whatever you do not stop the music. But a club's finished at 7, yes, but do not be seen turning the music off. So, right. So I got there. The crowd is probably 20 meters away, really far away in this company. It's a bit of an odd setup, 15, maybe 10 meters. Anyway, so I put on Prodigy Out Space. That's my kind of go-to last tune for there. That or Who's the Bad Man? And then I walk down doing high fives. They're all charged out of their nut because that stuff that comes in off the boat there is crazy. So 2 guys basically just lift me up like I'm a bloody piece of paper. 2 bouncers grab my legs doing this tug of war, and I'm like, no, that's all right. Just let me get over there because I didn't want to be anywhere near the decks. So I'm there kind of having a bit of a dance and chatting to a few people. I look over and the bouncers like that trying to usher these, and I'm like, yeah, just keep giving them the thumbs up.
Yeah.
The record runs out, and nothing comes on after that, and it's that kind of, do you remember that Quentin Tarantino vampire film where everyone's in the bar and it's all just a normal bar, and then all of a sudden everyone turns into a vampire and just goes batshit? That happened. Everyone just went like that and looked at him. Glasses, bottles, ice cubes, they all get launched at this guy. I mean, literally, it's like watching that movie, when all the arrows shoot up and then suddenly this one guy just gets all these arrows pelted into him. And I was like, thank that wasn't me. So,
Jay, 1 year, right, I played Resurrection in Scotland.
Yeah.
And the Resurrection main arena was huge in 96, 97, 5,000-6,000 people. And I had the last set and they started lobbing the glow sticks at me. And I'd never had it in my life. And I thought, oh, fuck, I've played really shit here. They're lobbing stuff at me. And I've come off gone from elation of like, yeah, I've done last set at Resurrection to, God, they're loving any old shit at me here. And I've come off and the Resurrection promoters going, they loved it. They're throwing their glow sticks at you. And I thought, this is fucking, being from like down south and having shit lobbed at you. It ain't good, is it? What's your Josh Wink story? Oh, you don't want to say what he's going to say. Come on, you don't know him, I don't know him. Tell us.
So I'll kind of shorten it down anyway. So I'm booked to play Razzmatazz in Barcelona. I don't know if you know, but it's this colossal club.
Right.
Like, I think it's 10,000 cap throughout the whole thing. There's all different areas. So my wife comes over with me. So promoter's like, do you want to come out for a meal? We're meeting up with Josh Wink. I was like, oh, of course I'd love to.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't remember where they were first?
Josh Wink, of course.
High states of consciousness, right? So we went out and it was at the time super surreal. We're talking about recycling and like all this really adult stuff, and I wasn't quite expecting it. Anyway, we have to go to the club and Josh Wink is with us, and he's like, oh look, we'll share a taxi. I was like, okay, cool. So we get into the car, so there's me, him, my wife in the back and the promoter in the front. I'm not sure how this conversation started, but it basically was him describing how he was in Ibiza with his girlfriend. I don't know if he's still with her. And she was kind of, the conversation was about them having sex without a condom. And he was like, you know, it was a really thing for me. And he kind of went into quite detail about this kind of sort of story.
Right.
Oh, sorry, yes. The reason why I started talking about that, suddenly remember, is he told it.
Big graphic J, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it gets, that's why I'm trying to filter it in my head.
Go.
Basically, he said to me, oh, by the way, like, my girlfriend's pregnant, like you two are the first people that I've told. I'm like, oh my God,
right.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, unprompted, he then goes into they were conceived in Ibiza. I'd never had sex without, you know, a condom before. And my girlfriend at the time, you know, really wanted, you know, and again, just, I won't describe it, just went into the describing why
you do have that effect on people.
Yeah,
go on.
So people do tell me the mad stuff, yeah. So he goes off, gets out of the hotel, gets out of the cab to go into the hotel to get whatever it was. And me and my wife are just sitting there going, not sure what to say. And he comes in and just picks up the conversation. And there's quite a detailed explanation of that evening going into the night. But
have you stayed in touch with him?
I didn't, in short. I went there and they had Will Radley.
He weirded you out, didn't he? Hold up.
We did actually get up on stage when he was playing, because he was playing a couple of hours after me. But I had my own green room. I'd never had my own green room before.
Yeah.
But they had, instead of J Cunning, they said Jade Cunning.
What about Jay Stunning?
Yeah.
Ooh la la.
So,
why do you think the Spaniards love the breaks so much, the breaks and the bass?
Do you know, it's a good question. Like, some of the stuff that they've really into is like the kind of sort of trancey elements was really kind of picked up. But if I think about like trying to play a breakbeat set like in southern Spain versus Madrid or Barcelona, I don't think I ever played one single set outside of like southern Spain. So I think it's a lot more kind of open, relaxed culture. There's a lot more kind of festivals. I think the tempo works right, because I think drum and bass, although the breakbeats got a little bit faster, but they always used to play a lot of old school. So I think there's a huge, you know, if you look at people like Hone, and I don't know if you know Rasco. So Rasco's a very good mate of mine. He was one of the first Spaniards that I met out there. He has got a collection. I mean, Hone has got a collection. Rasco has got a collection and a half. But do you know the ruthlessness they had to do? Because obviously mostly playing vinyl out there in the early, up until, you know, only a few years ago. He used to put a white label over every single one of his records, so no one could see what records he got. Like, it was really cutthroat out there. Yeah, it was like, and he was one that inspired me to put all of them in kind of black plastic sleeves. I've spent,
look after them. Yeah.
Spent about $2,500 in black plastic sleeves.
The thing is, we would never have done that back in the day. But
Right.
I was thinking about this earlier and actually said it on one of my deep dives of like, now records that are now like 150 quid in the original at the turn of 95, 96, when the Japanese and the Spanish were getting interested in the records from 92, 93.
Yeah.
You'd pick up Sacred, do it together for £5 at the record and video exchange. And and then at the turn of like the noughties, when eBay come in, you'd pick up like records that are now like £200 for a tenner. And you get this sort of like musical snobbery, and you think, pipe down, mate, that was £2 in 95. Do you know what I mean? But a whole load of credit. Japanese, like I remember the Japanese would come over to England in 95, 96, 97, 98 to meet the rave DJs from the early 90s, to go through their records and buy their collections and stuff. And that's how some of the first lot of records started filtering around the world. And the Spanish were next, who are really into it. And yeah, people like Hone, your mate, they're really, 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 they know more about our music than we do. And I think the other thing that's interesting is, so us DJs who live those moments, sometimes it might not register as much with us because we lived that moment and broke those tracks. But so many people from around the world, or people who didn't experience, then study that. They completely study it with a fascination. And I get it, because I'm the same with my electro, because I didn't live that moment in New York or LA, and so, and I would have been 7 or 8, I then want to know more. So I completely get it. But the Spaniards' love for breakbeat has been incredible.
Yeah. Do you know what's also a bit mind-bending is that the part, you know, if you look like some other scenes, you know, there's a lot of kind of British talent that has kind of built that scene. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely some amazing talent, and even as the scene grows, more and more comes around. But, you know, a lot of these great scenes do kind of get really kind of nurtured and grow and got their foundations built in the UK. And a lot of the Spanish guys hadn't been over to the UK. And all they know is these parties for like 3,000 to 10,000 people. So I was like, when you guys come over to London, you're going to have a bit of a shock of your life, mate. Yeah. Because you'll be like 93 feet east and there's like, you know, 300 people in there or whatever. You know, there used to be a yearly awards thing called Breaks Poll, where the lineup in Fabric was just like, it was just absolutely insane. You didn't see anything else like it. And half the people that were in there were guys that had flown over from Spain. I remember a few of them just going, "Where's the rest of it?" I was like, "No, mate, this
is it. You lot have got a bigger scene than us."
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier doing some A&Ring with Ram.
Yeah.
Because you also had your residency, didn't you, at the end with Ram and stuff like that. Tell me that period of like A&Ring, what it was you was doing.
Yeah. So it was that kind of relationship with Ram was around the same time as Kiss, actually. So it was a real kind of magical time for me, for sure. And one of my oldest mates, Klaus Heavyweight Hill, does a load of mastering for some amazing artists now.
Klaus, I've seen that.
Yeah. He used to work at Main Source. He used to do all the promos at Main Source back in the day. He was doing productions with Carl, who's Usual Suspects, that was on Renegade Hardware. So anyway, he was emigrating to Australia, and he was doing the residency at the time. So he was said to them, "Listen, there's only one person I want to give it to, and I'm going to recommend this guy." And I kind of met with them and what have you in there. But I don't even think I met with them at that point. I think we just turned up and just did it. Yeah, right. Yeah. I think they had a good trust in Klaus. So the residency, I did that, I think, for about four and a bit years, right up until the end. Finished and closed, like the proper time it closed, not the, you know, I know it had a couple of little runs as the Den or something, whatever it was. So, you know, I got to experience some kind of real magical nights down there. And, you know, it was kind of Danny Breaks would go in first and do the hip hop set. Oh my God, I've forgotten his bloody name. I'm so sorry. One of Andy's oldest mates would come in, it'll come to me and do like a house set. I would then do the breakbeat set, typically 3 till 4:30, and then he would rotate a DJ come in to do an old school set. So Nicky Black Market, Fantasy, Brocky, you know, all these guys used to rotate through. So for me, it was a dream. Yeah, you know, playing at the end, 4 round records. I mean, I was mostly on the same time as Andy, so I missed a lot of his sets, unfortunately. Right. But then I started talking to them about the breakbeat and the scene and helping them understand it a little bit more. And they were like, listen, we've kind of toyed around with it. We've got a couple of people. They're going to start this label called Raw 24. So the whole idea was just like white labels and a stamp. And so I went down to their offices and kind of met up with them. We had a chat. You know, I played them a few other bits and pieces just to try and get a feel for what kind of stuff they wanted to support. And so I left there feeling really good, thinking, great, right, I know where I'm going to go now. And I spoke to pretty much everyone I knew in the scene. And I did basically know everyone. Yeah. And they're like, nah, I'm not interested. I was like, hold on a minute, can I just get this right? You don't want to sign a track to Andy C's label. He's like, yeah, look, you know, that sounds cool, but like, I'll have to give up half the money to them. I was like, yes, because that's how labels do work. But on the other hand, and do you know what? I found it, no one was that interested in doing it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I guess really if a whole load of them had their own labels and already moving, and at that point, there was so many labels in that era, and people could sell their own music. Do you get what I mean? And in hindsight, I guess they wouldn't have seen or Ram or Andy C. Of course, they were huge, but now their legacy and
of course,
absolutely, humongous. Your label Menu, you had a lot of releases, right?
So do you know what? We had 13 and a half. And the reason
13 and a half, dude.
The reason why I say 13 and a half is the 14th release only got to TP stage, and then I can't remember. Oh, then Intergroove went down. So
do you remember that period when distributors were just falling?
Yeah, that was a really, really tough time with that. Really tough time. We were quite lucky in our sense because they didn't have much stock of ours because we kind of sold through. Not that we were selling on average, I think probably 1,000, which I know sounds a lot now, but back then
it wasn't a scale.
1,000 was when you started making like some decent money after that. And then, you know, the biggest one we did was Minimal, Lady Wax, which is, I think it was about 3,500 we did of that one. Our ethos was Menu Music. So it was a label run by me and Atomic Hooligan, so me and Terry. Matt kind of was involved a little bit in the early stages, but it was mostly me and Terry. It was just about party fun music, the kind of stuff that we like to play out. And we would rather have 2 or 3 releases a year that we really tried and tested and really believed in, rather than flood. Like, we've got to get a release out and stick to a schedule regularly of once a month or whatever it may be. So, you know, we had a good few years out of that.
Yeah, you had 2 or 3 records, mate. You had brilliant records.
And we did, you know, we tied in our kind of sort of 7 decks and effects show as a kind of menu showcase of me, Terry, Matt on effects, and we had Xander on the mic. So it was nice to kind of bring that out into the party world as well.
Yeah, no, it was a cool label. So that period, Kiss then kind of dropped you all, dropped like the underground like music from the roster, and then you end up on Cool.
So obviously you know the story, so for the benefit of others. So Kiss cancelled my show. There were, I think, 1 or 2 others, I can't remember. The previous year they'd been bought by Bauer. And then within 2 months, I was already being asked, can I tone down some of the music that I'm playing and make it a bit more commercial? And I just said no.
Fuck you.
There wasn't anything else, just no. So I guess the rhyme was, maybe it was a little bit late, but the rhyme was kind of on the wall with where they were going. And it's really sad actually, because Kiss kind of just basically turned into another click studio station. Do I like this song? No. Do I like this song? And you're just clicking through different radio stations. There's no kind of, you know, that affinity and community towards the label, the radio station. And actually, one of the guys that was on the board of Kiss when they got their legal license got in contact with me and said, listen, I've just seen your show has been cancelled. Look, I just want to say, one, what they're doing is illegal because it was out of their terms, because the terms of their legal license was it had to be X amount of hours per week of specialised music, which underground, alternative, what have you. He said, secondly, I know why they've done it. It's because they're trying to get the ratings up in the thing and they're trying to get bigger numbers for ads. He said, I've done research and proved that you can get much more long-term revenue out of a specialised dance music show with a highly engaged audience, you know, that you market stuff that's relevant to them. Also, you advertise stuff that's relevant to them than you will just chucking random ads of like, you know, Argos and, you know, whatever it might be, anyone trying to hope to get in there. So that when that finished, I had been doing radio weekly for probably, oh Jesus, it was a long time.
From 98.
From 98, yeah. Because I did Lush. I did Groove Tech Radio. So Groove Tech was one of the first internet radio stations based in Notting Hill, all legit. I don't know if you know Red Snapper, Richard Thayer.
Right.
So Red Snapper was kind of like they're not like Groove Armada, but they were of that kind of era. They would make a sort of like kind of broken beats.
I know the name Red Snapper is slightly,
yeah. You'd like it. It's broken beats, super underground, a bit jazzy. They actually pulled in Depp to sing on one of their tracks actually, and he'd done an absolutely sterling job. So I kind of thought, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of a break because actually at that point,
you've been on Ministry?
Been on Ministry. So yeah, Groove Tech, Breaks FM, Ministry, Kiss, took a break, Cool, Independent, and then Centre Force.
Yeah.
So in that break, I was thought, you know what, gigs of I'm flying all around all the world. I was literally doing stuff in Canada. I was doing New Zealand, all around Eastern Europe, regular Europe, Russia, Nordics. I mean, I was literally flying everywhere and doing a load of UK stuff as well. So I thought, you know what, just take a little bit of a breather. And then I kind of found myself missing it. And you got me onto a show. And I've still got nightmares about that show. Do you remember? I found it the other day. You shit. Can I tell them though? No, I love you. No, this shows that I love you.
Yeah, no, please do.
Right,
so my cool Music Mondays is obviously still going. So it was in that, it must have been 15 years ago. I found the show 30.
Yeah, it would have been.
So it was a real technical era as well. Like all of us had sort of like, the new tech was coming in, controllers, CDJs had stepped up a lot. And you see it, you'll go back and you'll see videos of everyone from Pete Tong to Carl Cox to underground people like me, you, Slipmat. We were going out with controllers one weekend, experimenting with laptops and CDJs and other. Some, people were trying with the Seratos and the vinyl. It was a real industry moment of like trying all this technology.
And it was early-ish days for this tech as well.
The earliest moment of it all, wasn't it? And we were all finding our feet, and he got this. Me and Matt were playing on one controller and experimenting with that, and you'd brought up yours, this massive controller, and he's such a technical guy, and every technical bitch he could have had was happening, right? And he just soldiered through it, and it was like the most wickedest 92, 93 old school set. And it was.
Do you know what it was? The bit that got me, that I don't know if I know this other story off about that, but it was, if you hovered about 2 centimeters over the jog wheel, it would just pause and stop. So I'd be reaching over to the laptop to get the next song, but I took that same controller to Epidemic's something birthday.
Right. So probably that would have been, we did their 30th this year. So that would have, at that point would have been their 50th birthday.
I think it was that. Me and King Youth did a back-to-back there, and I took this controller there, and with all the vibrations, it literally just wouldn't output anything. Just
And so basically what happened was like, I'm a real perfectionist and a real lover of what this guy does. So literally we got the recording back, and I spent days editing it all, did I? And putting it in time and like all of the little dropouts, because it was a wicked show, and you were proud to be on Gold, and it was just
for sure.
This thing, and the show went out, and all of those things were edited out, because it was like, But we had so many technical bitches, all of us in
Not
that.
we, I.
No, but no, but in general, all of us as this new technology. Every DJ, like the ones who used to go out and were getting their boxes and setting up Seratos, nothing but problems. Laptops like shutting down in the middle of the rave, and then the DJ having to put them back on. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I'm like one of my I still have nightmares of this, and how Big Ben, I want to thank you for still booking me for all of your events, right? Big Ben, he had this was like 12, 14 years ago.
Right.
I had 3,000 or 4,000 people in front of me at this car show with a festival at it, and I had nothing but problems, and computer shut down. Come back, I watched 4,000 people disintegrate to none. Me, Jay, like all my confidence, and I was like, oh no. So, but yeah, that was your first outing on call, wasn't it?
And you know what? I owe single-handedly thank you for that, because that got rid of Bugback, and I think I had a conversation with you very shortly after that saying, get me on the station. I want in.
Yeah, because as far as I'm concerned, you are, and you don't be embarrassed by me saying this, you're one of the best radio DJs that we've had.
Oh, thanks, mate.
For like the 35 years, well, it'll be 36 years next year I've done this. You are one of the best to ever do this, that your presentation, your slickness, your dedication to nurturing and breaking artists and what you do through your music, and Eastman will agree with me. Like he always said, Jay's wicked. Jay, you know, you've just got that radio professionalism. Hence,
I thought you could have said you got that radio face.
No. Hence, when you went and did the trial for Kiss, they were like, "You're the man for this." And you know what? It ushered a really good moment in time, because all music has to move on, all music changes, and there was always the love for the old school early 90s never ever went.
Sure.
And it's quite evident based on the old school scene, if you like. So like Grant, you talk about Grant Epidemic. He sent me the flyer for 20 years ago of the old school awards, which I hosted. Liquid won best track with Sweet Harmony. Slipmatt won best DJ, old school DJ. Nicky won best drum and bass DJ. So that was 20 odd years ago.
Yeah, right.
And then like, I see flyers from like the late 90s, early noughties of us all doing old school. So the old school scene as a scene has always been celebrated. Breaks fed into that for sure, as we touched on. But then when you joined Cool, it was at exactly the time that, and I think this is important, and when I do these interviews or with the newer generation like Pete Cannon, or when I do radio shows where I play new music like you do, I always feel it's so important to name check the people who 20 years ago were doing old school sounding fresh, or 15 years ago. And that period that you joined Cool, you just launched, or was just launching, your Sub Slayers label. And there was a breaksy sound, and names are wanky. None of us really like the names that people end up giving music, but there was a sound called Future Jungle that really, really fed into 93, 94, and it was like a follow-on from Breaks. It took jungle, it took hardcore, and you played a pivotal part in that with King Youth, with Vinyl Junkie. There's loads. Like you name some of the people.
Toronto's Broken, Schema, Rack and Ruin. You know, there was a lot of artists that were out there with
Strange Rollers. There was loads. There was loads, and I think there was, and like you said at the start of this, we've been parallel with a lot of things, and that was like one of the parallels that we had in like love. And I know people catch something from this. You have had humongous moments, traveling the world with some of the biggest standout, not just breaks artists, but that people dance music artists.
Yeah, for sure.
But like me, where I can go and do huge gigs still, like in Ibiza or at festivals, there's something with radio of always coming back down to the underground and finding new music and pushing new music. And I feel that period that me and you had on call, regardless of how some of the big things we'd done, it was a buzz doing that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think it's interesting, like that hardcore sound, right? That 91, 92, 93, and even, 94, that certainly my personal passion and love for that has never wavered. Sure, there's been times where I've spent more time listening to it, and there's sometimes where it's been more of a kind of background, but it's always been there. If I think musically, like towards the end of Cool, and as Subslayers was starting to wind down, I was kind of, the Future Jungles thing, I really enjoyed it and really loved it. But the reality is, it didn't get the legs that it needed to.
It was cult, it was niche.
It definitely was.
It was me and you and the like, let's say 50 producers and that we loved it, and we all had this like collective buzz of doing it.
I know. Musically, I loved it. It didn't quite pick up on the nights, but as that kind of sort of came to its natural point, I was also kind of doing more, starting to release a little bit more kind of jungle stuff on Subslayers and working with people like Aries and Gold Dubs and Born on Road and Alex King Youth was starting to do more of that kind of tempo stuff as well.
The Aswad record.
Yeah. Oh, mate, that was incredible working with Aswad, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I did a music video with those guys. And my mate lives in Trellick Towers on the 27th floor. Ed Turnine from the break scene. So he let us film the Aswad video in there. So it was Renegade Soundwave, so Danny and Aswad together. So we ended up doing 2 singles with those guys. You know what the most surrealist moment of that was? Danny's like, look, he's like, look, are you interested in this? I was like, of course I'm interested in chatting to Aswad and see if I want to do a single. He's like, look, the boys are pretty old school. Like, don't worry about contracts or that stuff. They just want to meet down the pub. If they like you, they'll do it. If they don't like you, then we're done. All right, got nothing to lose. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And on a Tuesday afternoon, I'm sitting in this pub called The Pavilion up the road from Westfield. It's a proper skanky old pub. No one's in there apart from the barman, me and Danny. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm just about to meet Aswad. How weird is that? But anyway, met the guys, got on really well. It was really, really lovely. But back to the old school thing, I love the fact, and I keep trying to stop myself saying this new wave of hardcore and jungle. And there's 2 reasons why I keep trying to stop saying it. One, it's been around for
a long... Fuck, it's the new wave have been around a long time now.
Not only has do you know what? It's because it feels new to me.
Yeah.
The music is new, but...
Because you're still excited.
Yeah, exactly. But the recent kind of resurgence, or whatever word you want to use, it's about 5-6 years, right? There's been a good 5-6 years. However, if you want to go back further, Darkus, D-State, Vinyl Junkie, these guys were doing it like 20 years
this
ago.
is the bit, like, this is the big thing for me, because like those people are at like Vinyl Junkie, Strange Rollers, DJ Jedi, these Stu and Nee, like I know. Do you know what? I think it was Nee the other day. He messaged me, so my daughter's just watched this interview of you talking about me, and it's like, for me, it's like I can talk about Frankie Valentine in '89 and '90 in Fabio. But it's just as important to talk about, if me and you are having this conversation about this modern era of hardcore and jungle that sounds old but is new.
Yeah.
Stu and Nee and those people need they need the absolute love from us, because way before COVID happened, and there was this big surge of people wanting to make new music or do reissues, there was them people like in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, who was really, really passionate, like the Spaniards were discovering these records.
They all came. I invited them all onto a Kiss show to do like a Rave Breaks kind of special. So I think is it Darkus that's based in Isle of Wight, or
possibly
whatever it is, I can't remember. Anyway, they came over and John came over and kind of interviewed them all. And it was really nice to kind of acknowledge those guys. And again, for me, you know, looking at a wider scope of breakbeat based music,
culture,
you know, these were guys were touching a closer bit to my heart because they were going on there was an old school element to it as well as breakbeat. So yeah, and you know, I got to find a better way to kind of describe it, because now if I look around, there's so many key things that I think that are just so good about how the scene is working well. One, you've got the established producers like kind of Blame, Shades of Rhythm, Ray Keith, House Crew. You know, there's a lot of guys that are still making music now that have got that experience, that knowledge and that authenticity from back in the day, that are making this new sounds of hardcore, jungle, techno, dark side, whatever it might be. But the new guy, I keep saying new, I've got to stop saying it. Maybe I'll always just say new.
Well, maybe they listen.
The younger guys.
Let me say something. Even the people who have been doing it for 5 years or 10 years, they are new compared to the people who was doing it in 1991.
Yeah.
So you could say the modern era or the new generation or the past decade of artists that have come through.
Pick one of those three.
Yeah, whatever people want to say.
Do you know that word authenticity comes back?
It's
and
the
that is
most
the
important
hugely important thing, right? What I see more often than not, which I'm really pleased about, is that the newer artists that are making stuff, they are listening and looking to that era.
Yeah.
They are being inspired by it, but they are adding their own twist and they're carrying the journey forward. That is such a key element for me for this and any scene to survive. Yeah. Otherwise, if you just keep reusing Awesome 3 Don't Go's piano and the breakbeat from Bomb Scare, we're not going anywhere. And sorry, one more thing I've got to say with that is I've thought about this so much. And the key thing for me is that if you look back at that scene, like 91 to 93, the music, the tempo, the styles moved at just breakneck speed.
Yeah.
If you even take like that dark side sound of like late 92, early 93, the Ray, Tango, Fallout, where those guys are playing, that had probably probably an airing of 10 months?
Yeah.
Probably wasn't even a year before it then continued to evolve into kind of jungle or what have you. How fucking awesome is it that people are going back, I like this little style, I'm going to be inspired by that. And there's no pressure or timeline to adhere to, right? So all of that stuff, you know, the bottom line is for me is that what a phenomenal era of music that didn't have enough time to give us the love and give it everything
now
it's got.
It is.
Now we can.
My thing is, and I am so vocal about this. As an old school DJ, I only play the originals.
Yeah.
Whether that's the most commercial big tunes at my big gigs, or whether that's a rave story or a call in the hardcore. Yeah. Like it's the underground stuff, right? But I can't play the remixes that come out, whether that's in the housey style, whether that's in I hear a lot of drum and bass that remixes the old stuff, or even the new authentic stuff. So I'm bizarrely, incredibly, like, it doesn't tick my boxes. Yeah. But what ticks my boxes is this era where people are making brand new hardcore and jungle and rave and acid. There's some amazing, like, obviously I love doing the acid house as well. I'm a big lover and supporter of the people who are making it authentic but original. You know what I'm like?
Sure.
Like, I'm quite passionate as well, in the same way I'm passionate about please, not another Awesome 3 piano that goes into a tech house beat. And you take all the fucking amazing elements out. Just play the fucking original, will ya? Stop remixing this stuff for you. Like, I don't get it. But I'm also, as you know, the same about a lot of the reissues. I celebrate more the people who make new music and release authentic sounding original music. And I think we're very the same on the new stuff that comes out.
For sure, you know what, and this is, you know, I've kind of had a bit of a thing about playing bootlegs on my radio throughout. I can't. As a general rule, I don't play bootlegs. Yeah, because I have played. I could probably think of a handful in like 25 years that I've played. Yeah. But like 99.999% of the time, I want to use my space to promote original music or official remixes of whatever track it may be. And I think, that is so important. I think there's a nice balance now with new music that's coming through from all different styles in that sort of hardcore to jungle, techno, dark side into jungle, right? All that 93 to 96. There's a lot of really amazing original music that's coming out. I think there's also some nice remix projects that are coming out for stuff from back in the day. And I don't think it's watering or dominating it. I quite like the repress scene. I think if we just had the repress scene and no original stuff,
it would be.
I don't think it would quite be as, I don't think it would be as exciting. I love to have who doesn't love to have the original pressing? But I would rather have the record full stop than have the original pressing, especially if something's 200 quid and I'm getting, a TP sent from a letterbox for nothing.
Do you know what the mad thing for me is? And I think my intentions they're glaringly there for the world to see and experience. My biggest thing, and you said this earlier, this music is to be enjoyed in a loud environment. So with my Rave Story event, I felt that, and hindsight is a wonderful thing. And when you've done something for as long as me and Sonia have done on a promotional level, me on a DJ level, you understand how to promote this music live. So something that I've been very conscious of is there is a lot of artists, whether that's Arkin through to Pete Cannon, T-Cut, Swank Out. There's loads of people who get on Rave Story. Then you're a DJ's DJ who supports the vibes, whether it's new music, the most underground stuff. And my biggest thing, as one, a fan, and two, someone who's immersed in this 24/7. I don't go to work. This isn't my hobby. This is my lifestyle. How important it was. And I reckon that 60 to 70% of Rave Story is probably new music, because I truly believe that even though I don't release many records, me and Sanction might have an album once every 2 or 3 years. Last year I released my unreleased Hardcore and Jungle, the dub plates that was exclusive to me. But my biggest thing that I'd like to see a lot of these recordings labels do is have live events. And they don't have to be 1,000 people events or 1,500 people events like the ones that we do at Electro Works. But for all of this music that me and you are excited by, the new underground stuff, it's always been important for me to put it in loud spaces. And I think that is, look, ultimately, we love music that sounds timeless. From all of these, our favorite people are making music that sounds like 93, that in 20 years time, it'll still sound timeless. Now, that might not be on a huge stage like Jump Up Drum and Bass, but I can assure you a whole load of the stuff that we get thrown down our timeline from the world of Jump Up is forgettable. It's just a screechy sound for sorry if this offends, a screechy sound for 16 bars that he's just forgotten about. Whereas there's a whole lot of authentic music being made that will sound timeless because of the moment that those, whether it's a 4am crew, whether it's a T-Cuts, whether it's a Swank Out, whether it's a Pete Cannon. I know you've got your favourites like I've got my favourites. Their music will travel because they're taking it from such a magical, authentic place of inspiration. I want to see, like we would have done with our labels in the late 90s, early 2000s, even if it's just 50 people or 80 people nights, I would like to see a lot of the labels and a lot of those producers just take on things, not as a money-making exercise, but you're making music for the rave experience, not just the whole onus shouldn't just be put on releasing it on a record. The labels and the people need these live spaces.
Yeah, I think so. And look, and and hats off to people like, kind of Devon's Road, those guys do one down at Four Quarters in Peckham. So, but I agree with you, like that's the next thing to kind of help kind of evolve this scene forward is more nights. And it is risky, and it does involve a lot of work. And there are people like yourselves that are doing, I know Wax Up in Birmingham, they're starting to bring elements in, Calling the Hardcore, they'll have a couple of new sets down there as well. Nightclub that will do it, Scala, is kind of half new. Well, it's probably more new than it is old. So it's definitely starting to happen. We discussed this before. What I'd love is a speed. Every Wednesday night, handful of people going down to a 50-cat venue, blasting dub plates, and everyone's getting a shape and a feel for the scene, how it's going, and start working together. But yeah, some of those smaller little bread and butter nights that are, like you say, 80 to 150 people.
Yeah.
It's not about, raking in the big bucks and playing in front of thousands of people. It's about getting the music out where it needs to be.
Yeah, and then those producers and those DJs who are running their label get to experience what their music sounds like loud. Like if you remember back to the Rave Breaks era, me, Matt and Richard Raindance monthly did like a Can You Feel It Breaks night.
Yeah.
Me and Sonia used to use the Mass, and we used to use the Mass for our tasty events. Richard used to run SE1 for his Raindance, but we'd always teamed up and promoted together, and we did these breaks night. They went like once a month, on a Wednesday or a Thursday night in the basement of the Mass, and far small,
Bug Bar, was it Bug Bar?
Bug Bar, yeah. Far smaller than anything that me and Sonia did on our own or Richard did on his, but it would literally be because we loved this breaks music that me and Matt were doing and the artists were doing, and you were supporting us and blah, blah. And I would just like to see that those people, because you really can get the upstairs of a pub or the back room of somewhere, or where only 50 of you go to, and it's just have a leap of faith that it's just you and the artist on your label, and you don't have to be scared off. Have faith in your music and go, well, if only 50 people come, but it's rammed in this little
space,
you can have your best atmospheres and your best vibes, and that's the thing I would like to see in 2026, because you could do a show every week. I could do a monthly show of playing new music, but it's a buzz for us and we enjoy doing it. But we want to see it also needs more beating heartbeats of club events from those record labels, and I think that would be something to see in the year 2026, because there is so much incredible new music. Like I get sent, I forget who I said this to on a podcast. It might have been Emma Marshall and Promo Zoe. We got talking about music, right? Yeah. And I get sent so much music from fucking house bootlegs of the classics to soulless, like jump up music that I think I went for 1,000 promos the other week of like music and just thought, where's the soul? Where's the hook? But I then because music I'm a believer that the music and the people that's meant to find you finds you. Yeah. And there's so much hardcore jungle techno, ragga jungle, rave, whatever, that has a soul to it. And it needs to be in clubs, and we have our passion and we support it because we can. But yeah, I want to see it in club, and it doesn't, when I say clubs and raves, I don't mean me and Sonia doing electro work. I mean back rooms of pubs, and they're some of the best gigs I've ever had, and I want those people, and I hope someone hears this and go, you know what, we run our label and we got a local in Leicester or a local wherever, it doesn't matter where it is, we're going to do that, even if it's free to get in for 50 people. That's how music builds.
No, 100. I know exactly what you mean. That is literally like exactly what Devon's Road do down in Peckham. You go down, it's like an arcade that you walk into. It's all a bit old. You go down these stairs, and it's literally a basement. concrete ceiling that you can touch, like banging sound system in there, and you probably, in the main bit, you could probably only get about 40, 50 people in there, about 60, 70 people in the whole bit downstairs. And it is a vibe and a half down there. I loved playing down there.
Yeah, and this music always needs a live space. It always needs a vibe. And I think, like you say, if we go back to Future Jungle, it played a big part in us lot's life for a couple of years. Like I remember when Sub Slayers got put up for the award at DJ Matt.
Oh yeah, that's
we was all
Best of British, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we were all behind it, weren't we?
Yeah.
And then the following year, I was up for a DJ award at that, and we was all behind it. It was like, this is it. This is yes, no, like this music we love's getting recognised. But we was all proud of that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was a real short-lived period, whereas this authenticity period that, again, going back to Stu and Nee, going back to Jedi, going back to Vinyl Junkie, going back to that era, this authenticity period has lasted for decades because authenticity is a real currency. Authenticity is the superpower. Authenticity is the vibe, you know? So disposable, and I think I'm right in saying this, when you're chasing the big 16-bar drop for lots of Spotify plays or just a big reaction, there's not necessarily authenticity in that. You're just chasing the big bit. Yeah. Whereas I think there's a lot of music coming through that is so not glaringly obvious, but it's true and soulful to itself and authentic. And I think it's the last time I'm going to say this in this pod. I want those people to go forth and put on their own 50 people nights, 100 people nights.
Do it.
And I know that would make you happy.
Do it, 100%. I'll come down and play for sure.
Yeah, I know you would. It's important to do. Yeah, Jay, I think we're in an amazing time for our music. And I've got something for you. Why do you, at the time of doing this, you're 51 tomorrow.
I am indeed, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 51. At the time of this going out, it'd be 4 months away. So we're both pretty close, within 6 months of each other. We've both done incredible things in other music scenes that run parallel to old school but feed back into old school. What do you think it is that makes us so passionate about that early 90s and celebrating it, being historians of it, documenting it, but also wanting to see it flourish with new music and new people? Why do you think we're so passionate?
Do you know what? I think you could go super deep on that. But
please do. No,
I'm going to give you my my first thought.
Go on.
I just love the music.
Yeah.
I listen to the tracks and I just genuinely love them. It's like my dad listening to the Pogues now or Dire Straits. You know, if you love a song, you love a song. And I think, you know, there was such an emotional connection and passion for that scene of music, because not only was it about the music, but it was about people coming out of Sharon and Tracy clubs and wearing trainers and jogging bottoms instead of like shirt and tie. And there was a breaking free, and there was an anti-establishment, and there was against the system, and there was a real movement of being able to take control. Sure, drums played a massive part of that as well, but there was a culture, there was a community, there was ravers, there was tape packs, there was record shops, there was, you know, tangible parts of this scene. There were parties that were a bit naughty and a bit under the water. There were parties that, you know, ended up becoming into clubs and becoming legitimate, but it had already built there, right? For me, it's all about the culture, the community, the music, everything. I'm in awe of everything, and I'm so grateful that I was one of the people that had actually lived and experienced it. But what I love even more is my mate's kid, who wasn't there clearly, absolutely loves the music. I played at a nightclub last week, and my mate's daughter just turned 18. She brought her, and I got her and 12 of her mates on the guest list. honestly, Dan, I've never seen anything so good. Like I saw them just running around. One, they've got guest list into a London club. Just that on its own is just an amazing to have as an 18-year-old, right? But seeing them just running around and they were split off into groups, and I'm playing and one of them's at the front, and none of them were taking their phones out and filming it. But I saw, looking at their faces, gave me such a buzz, and it really reminded me. I felt that. I know exactly what that feels like. I know the buzz you're going through. So I think there's a big emotional and personal connection to that music, certainly for me. And because it has never gone away, it's played sometimes bigger roles in my life and sometimes not as big a role, but it's always been there. And to be part of a scene that pays homage and respect to that era and enables me to play my little part in continuing to grow that story, honestly, I couldn't put myself in a better position if I tried.
I love that. You just said a word. I'm still in awe of it. And I've never used that word. I always say like the authenticity of it all. And I think that's what it is for me as well. Like, I'm in awe of all my friends. Like I'm in awe of the people who I may not have known, but were my peers. And like, it's so important for me because I know what it feels like to still go out there and have thousands of people in front of me. I know what it feels like to say, I paid my mortgage out of this. Like I can't believe that this happened, or I can't believe that my name's in a plaque, or do you know what I mean? Like I can't believe that new generation artist said that something I did inspired them, right? So I know what that feels like to be name checked and like, but I've got all my heroes and I've got all my people and musics, and like it could be someone who made one track who no one knows, but I know that track and I want the world to know. Like when I think of like George Kelly comes up, his name so much on these things. You mentioned Mixmaster Max earlier. Vibes name checked him in a big way on his. LSD name checked him. You name checked him. Frankie Valentine comes up, and like, and I just think, forget what I've done in my own own world. I'm still in awe of like what we either helped create with our friends without knowing it, or what we saw our other friends and peers create, or what we experienced as a fan of like just someone's track or someone's DJ set. And that's what drives me. That's why I keep doing it, because one, I see the love that people have every weekend in clubs. Or every time we do a radio show, which the radio shows are about community and we see the community. So I see the effect that it has on people as we get older.
Right.
You know, we get older, and look, Jay, like you say, me and you have worked almost parallel in the same loves as radio people and club people. So we've had a long, long time of seeing people come, go, whether that's ravers, labels, etc. But at whatever point in time people have their entry level back as producers, ravers, DJs, they're finding something that meant so much to them from back in the day. So we have that of sharing our passion with those people, but then we also have all these little tidbits and all these little bits of info, or this record that you never knew. We want to share that with you.
Right. Exactly. Because it's not also just about the music. It's the little bits of information. It's strengthening that personal connection to the music. We can all make a decision whether we like a song or not. But to be a little bit closer to, oh, it's made by that producer. Oh, they did this tune. Oh, did you know that one worked on this? Did you know this is an 18-year-old kid that's just had their first record? You know, there's always an extra bit of layer of information that I always try and like to give, because one, I'm interested in it. So I just think if I listen to this music, I like this music, I want a little bit more info about, what's going on there.
Yeah.
So I think having that kind of, you're strengthening that intimate connection with the music. It's enjoyable.
I was saying to you earlier when we went over to the cafe and you got your sausage sandwich, right? Was like I've said to you before, and I said to you earlier, I honestly thought that the intention was to start slowing down at 50. like I'd been round the block. This music had rewarded me time and time again. Like, I've lived my dream from the moment I started doing this. If you would have told me at 50, I'd be fucking speeding up and going faster and doing more. And it's that love for how you describe why we do radio, why we share this music, that like when you find something you love and you get to share it with the world, it's like, it's a pretty magical trade-off that we do.
For sure. For sure, man.
And on that note, I know you only wanted to do an hour interview with me, because as always, you've got some trendy business meeting to go to. But I did everything within my power.
That we offer us perfect, man.
Yeah,
I love the time, man.
I thought I'd do everything in my power not to have you just for an hour. Jay, I love you, and it's been amazing to, I would say, work alongside you doing the same kind of thing.
Do you know what I love about this? Is because we've had that same kind of path, especially on the radio. It could be easy for, oh yeah, he does that thing and I do this. We've always been, no, we're doing this together. We might even be sharing tunes. Like, you get me onto a radio station. There's always been that support. We've always both been like music first.
Yeah.
No one man is big enough to spread a whole scene. We've all got to play our part.
Yeah.
So, and I've really enjoyed and respected that about you, because you've always had that attitude of like, right, come on, hold my hand, let's go. Let's all walk up the stairs together.
Yeah, it's important. It's very important. I love you to bits.
Big up, mate.
Happy 51st for tomorrow,
mate.
You old bastard.